Karmelo Anthony is doomed and will spend the rest of his miserable life in prison. The state has rested their case, and it was an unbelievably strong one. Now that the defense has been calling witnesses to the stand, it's become clear that they know that Karmelo Anthony not only is guilty, but that I think they're trying to help the prosecution. It's the only thing that you can assume after hearing some of this evidence. Karmelo Anthony provoked Austin Metcalf before fatal stabbing. Self-defense claim shot down in bombshell after bombshell after bombshell. Testimony that's not going to come as a surprise to our listeners because we read the file. We followed the breadcrumbs. We put the pieces together. They have footage of the actual murder. They have eyewitnesses that were speaking to the press. And we told you that what happened here was that this young student who was, of course, completely baptized into gangland, urban, extremely violent Black American culture for young men who came from a family that's clearly filled with degenerates and opportunists who fundraised off their murderous son, slaughtering a white child. There's nothing beneath these people, the scum of the earth, and they raised the scum of the earth who murdered a kid in cold blood because he felt offended. And while that might sound great in a rap song, there's real world consequences when you take someone's life. And every single witness has come through and said that it was Karmelo Anthony who was actually provoking and attacking Austin Metcalf. So Karmelo Anthony was in the tent, according to multiple witnesses. He was trying to pick a fight. He was cursing out the students. He was going after them. It wasn't even his school. It wasn't even his school's tent, of course. He was going in there to attempt to kill someone. He went in there with the intention to kill. Intent is really important. There's crimes of passion. Sometimes there's instances where someone ends up dying, but nobody intended for anyone to die. This is clearly malicious murder. Karmelo Anthony, according to all of the available testimony, went in there to try and murder someone. Now, we know this because it's part of his character. He's been suspended at school multiple times, we learned. He was suspended at school because of violence. This was a violent kid. He wasn't even supposed to be at the track meet. I think he was suspended at the time, according to one of the superintendents. But then more importantly, who brings a switchblade to a track meet in his backpack and then starts picking fights with people? Someone who's trying to commit murder. He's looking for an excuse to commit murder. He also admitted to the murder on camera. They've played the tapes. I wish they would feed them out to the public. Amazing how they lock everything down. George Floyd situation, it all gets blasted on every cable TV show. Why can't we see the footage? We should be able to see the footage. Prosecution called 21 witnesses, including teen eyewitnesses, coaches, first responders, young police, forensic experts, and young Black students who also testified about the violent animalistic behavior. Multiple teens witnessed and testified that Anthony was asked to leave the tent 15 times. They testified that he provoked the confrontations with taunts and challenged others to touch him. He stabbed Metcalf, who was unarmed. There was no group assault on Anthony, according to the teens. When the prosecutor asked one of the teens, did Karmelo Anthony act in self-defense or commit murder? The teen replied, he committed murder. One of the witnesses also said, and we don't know the names of the witnesses because they're all underage. One of the witnesses also said, a shove isn't a death sentence, is a line from the testimony. So he got pushed, right? Austin Metcalf was standing up for himself. If there's one person who was standing his ground, it was actually Austin Metcalf. One person who was acting in self-defense, it was Austin Metcalf, not Karmelo Anthony. Anthony also admitted it. I'm not alleged, I did it, he said to the cops, played on body camera footage. Karmelo Anthony is facing first-degree murder charges. If convicted, he could be sentenced to 99 years in prison. He's 19 years old, I believe, at the time now. Prosecution rests its case after this. The trial over the death. Prosecutors have rested their case after bringing witness after witness after witness, according to testimony described in court. Multiple witnesses said Anthony repeatedly was asked to leave the tent, and Anthony was not acting in self-defense. In fact, the fatal stabbing was a man who was The person stabbed was acting in self-defense, trying to protect his teammates. The state has rested its case now. It's over. The judge asked Karmelo's defense team, what's next? Defense asked the court to move to a direct verdict. The motion asking the judge to rule in their favor before the case is submitted to the jury, arguing that opposing side has legally failed to present enough evidence. The judge said no. So the judge asked the defense what's next, and they didn't know. Now they're taking a break. Jeez, what a mess. Prosecutors rested their case. So what happens now? Testimony in Anthony's case is devastating. It was murder. I'm outside the criminal courthouse for Karmelo Anthony. Several witnesses today say that Karmelo Anthony was the aggressor. Karmelo said, F y'all, I'm not going to leave. You're a bunch of pussies, he said, before stabbing and murdering. Medical examiner showed a piece of his heart. The knife went directly through his chest and into his heart. That's how he died. It went through the bone in the center of his chest. The knife went completely through Austin's heart wall. The prosecutors were trying to show a photo of the autopsy. They walked the photo to the defense. Karmelo looked away. He couldn't even look at the autopsy. Scum. Female juror covered her mouth. Austin Metcalf's parents and family members left the room. Prosecutors rest their case. Okay. The defense has called a witness that says Karmelo Anthony was wrong. This is why I'm telling you, they're like throwing this thing. Teen witness says Karmelo Anthony provoked confrontation. Prosecutors asked him to demonstrate the stabbing motion. I think Karmelo was in the wrong, the teen said. So this is their star witness. So the star witness says Karmelo Anthony is in the wrong. He's fidgeting. He refuses to look people in the eye. Absolute and total scum. You have to make sure that you protect your children from this culture, right? There is a culture of violence that all children are susceptible to. You have to be a strong father. You have to center their life in Christ. You cannot let them glorify violence. You cannot let them brain rot and do recreational drugs and poison their mind. Be careful what they're watching. Be careful what they're listening to. Be careful who they're listening to. Man. And the jury's just getting ripped to shreds here. Meaning, like, they're being shown gruesome body cam footage of Karmelo Anthony admitting he killed him, running away, hiding the murder weapon. It's not something that you do if you feel justified in self-defense. The self-defense argument, it seems like they're not even trying at this point. They're not even trying. They're just saying, you know what?
This is a case of self-defense. Prosecutors calling it unjustified murder.
Yeah, it is. It is. We look forward to the end, the swift conclusion of this trial. Apparently the defense hasn't really produced any defense at all. The family, weren't they supposed to use the $1 million that he raised in order to hire some type of big shot attorney? They're using a public defender. They're using the free attorneys that the state provides. Where'd all the money go to? Oh, a new Escalade, some new sneakers. That's according to the New York Post. Like they wrote it up, like what they're spending all this cash on. They bought a new home. They bought a home in like some protected cul-de-sac. It's sickening. It's repulsive culture. Protect your children from this. I don't want anybody ever to end up like a Austin Metcalf or a Karmelo Anthony, because he's going to face the rest of his life in prison. It's your boy Benny. Like, share, and subscribe.